Well, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Zwift Live broadcast of the WTRL Zwift Racing League, week number 4. This is the America's East Zone. We've been broadcasting all day. I'm Nathan Guerra. This is Dave Towle, and we have been in the zones of the APAC, the European, Middle Eastern, and Africa, as well as now the America's East and America's West is going to be coming up next with Kate Bates and Dave Toll. But right now, it's me and Dave, and we've got the women's racing up first, men's second, Division 1A in this zone. We'll also be going over the results and the standings for the rest of the categories in the zone, and maybe catching a couple of the images if we can. Dave, it's been some crazy racing so far today. We're seeing the reality of the way this point system works that WTRL has set up, how close the racing can be at the top, how the TTT versus the points racing makes different genres of racing here really open up for the competitiveness in this world of Zwift. You never would have thought that you could come up with so much actually in this world until we see it unfolding before our eyes.
Yeah, as we're hitting the middle part of the 8-race series here at the ZRL, these community races, Nathan, have also been insanely close. We've had, so in a couple of different ways, as far as in the team time trial today, we have seen multiple events. I believe there's one situation with the EMEA East where we had 7 teams within 10 seconds of each other at the finish line. I mean, absolutely bananas. And you mentioned the points table. Whoever set that up did an incredible job of figuring out a way to keep things suspenseful all the way through the season. So we're going to find out a lot here. Second time that the team time trial has been presented to the women in the Americas East. And this is a really strong group, Nathan. I'd expect, again, your winning team, it's going to come down to, I'm going to guess, a rider sacrificing themselves in the final K to eke out that last second. Nathan, it's come out that way more often than not today.
A good point. We have seen so many times where leaving Ocean Boulevard in that last K, it's like 1K to the line as soon as you go out of that 3% gradient uphill out of Ocean Boulevard, heading toward the piers. Riders giving either, I've seen two different circumstances where one rider has just been really leading the team and is just so strong and they're all just hanging on to that wheel. And then there's a second circumstance that you're talking about where the rider's just about done and just gives everything they got, and they're out the back because it's 1K to go. Leave the 4 riders, leave the 5 riders. And what's interesting is I think because of the short burst climbs that are in here, well, bursty 3 to 4 minutes, even up to 5 for some riders. But the reality is that reverse KOM, as well as that leaving the Fuego Flats and the Titans Grove on this course, Magnificent 8, I think we haven't seen many 6 riders to the line. It's been 4 and 5. Almost across the board.
To be honest, Nathan, you're not going to win the race there on the reverse KOM or QOM in some cases, but you see teams lose it there. That's for sure. I would say that half of the teams detonate, and it's not that hard of a climb in the big picture. But in this team time trial format, with everybody right on that razor's edge out there, it's been interesting. The top teams have looked decidedly different when they go up and crest over the arch there than teams that are in trouble who are all over the shop. Really, to be honest, Nathan, when you see them at that point in the race and it comes pretty early, I can't tell you who's going to win, but I can tell you who's not going to win. That's for sure.
You see the disruption from that reverse KOM very early too. And you start seeing right off the bat who has set up really well to get a W out here and who is going to be struggling because their team has a lot of disparity when it comes to the climbing. That has been a big struggle.
Nathan, in climbing, they call that the crux of the route, right? The very hardest part, the most technical detail that you have to get through. And usually it's the crux that you have to keep fighting and fighting to eventually get through. Well, that's going to be that reverse KOM. That's the crux of this course. If you can't get through that cleanly, you're going to be picking up scraps the rest of the way. And the strong teams, then we sort things out. And typically, I'm going to expect the same thing today. Teams like Saris, the Pros Closet, they're going to be in a pitched battle out here today. We'll take a look at the teams to watch for. Obviously, as we make our way into the fourth race of the season now, we're starting to sort out who the top squads are. And ATP Venom, Nathan, it's worth noting, they'll be starting last today. So they'll be the final team out on course. They're sitting with 59 points. Sarah's the Pros Closet, just a couple points back. So these teams that you're looking at, the top 10, these will be the last teams out on course. With CCNS ladies, they'll be the 10th from last, all the way down to ATP Racing Venom. So I'll let you look at the season because, Nathan, it has been a blast.
Yeah, it really has. And we'll just go through the top threes or so throughout the night, as well as quick little mentions across the board. But we are seeing in this, they do in this specific zone, in the America's East Division 1, they have an A and a C category in order to get everybody together to figure out where people stand amongst each other. So it is going to be Tsunami, ATP Racing Hive, and Wadi Inc. WC2 in those top spots. It's going to be a battle getting that top 3, it looks like. Shout out to the Margaritas as well as the Revo Doves. You do see also BRT Flaming Kittens maybe be able to jump up a little bit with a solid result. So we'll be watching out for that as well. But in the A category, obviously, that's that battle you're talking about, ATP, Saris, and Finesse. There's a little bit of a wiggle room there from Revo to Cryogen and CISO. I race like a girl to maybe jump into, up into the 70s that it'll be at the end of the day today after 4 weeks of racing when we get done with the standings. So that's the situation there in the women's. Now, because we're going to be jumping right into the men's racing in just a few moments as well, going side by side because it does go off at 45 after the hour. Let's take a look here over at the A division. Finesse Wahoo, ATP Racing Hydrogen, and ODZ Sharknado. Those are the top 3 there. There is a battle for that 4th place there with the Meme Team and Wadi Inc. So be on the watch out for that. And maybe a jump from them if they did do a little homework in the TTT. We'll see how that's going to end up playing out. But then in the rest of this, it's going to be FW Dirty Diesels and then Dutch Diesel Cycling Oost Train. Still in the 50s there. 49, and there's that bubble there, Dirty Ducks, as well as BMTR. That's your top 10 in this current situation here. Then in the C's, ATP Racing Nitrogen, Dirty Grinders, and RR Nuclear Rhinos. The Rhinos! It's always the Rhinos.
They're everywhere.
Lately. They're everywhere here, Dave. Z-Sunderwear. That's a great name.
They're doing a good job, Z-Sun is, yeah. So ducks also have been quite a theme this season. Nathan, it's worth noting that, and that's a good one right there. 2 teams deadlocked at 58 points. The top 2 teams advancing up into the next division, and that's a big deal. Now, when you talk about the biggest, the quantum leap, if you will, out there are the teams that go from our community league, which is the racing we do on Tuesdays, up into the Premier League on Mondays, And what you're going to see then is there's some benefits. They'll get an in-game kit if they don't already have one, and the pride of being the best of the best in the community. So there's a lot going on as we hit the middle part of the season right now. And you can see we're starting to sort it out in some of the divisions, but others are completely wide open. This women's race is going to be thrilling out here today, so buckle up. This is going to be a great ride. 29 kilometers of racing today. We'll have some checks for you here. I believe it's going to be 6, 12, and 18K. We'll try to get a look at as many teams as we can as they make it through those checkpoints along the way. Give us a feel for what we've got in front of us. So there you go. You can see the teams already up on the board. Betty Squad. That's been a movement in women's cycling. The Betty teams all over the place. So it's nice to see here, Nathan, the team bringing it up to speed, already hitting 40 kilometers per hour.
Yeah, solid ride here so far from the Betty Squad. 39 seconds, though. They're going to have to have their work cut out for them a little bit because look at this purely Canadian team. They've got to know each other in some sort of way, I would think. A little bit of kick here from Coates. Interesting to see. Is that going to be trying to break their team apart? I'm not positive. Maybe saying, let's get the speed up. Maybe they're just like, come on, this is not fast enough, and like putting a little carrot out there. I'm not sure, but it's going to be the Royal City Women's A. What do you think that's alluding to? Royal City in Canada.
I think Royal City is Toronto. You know what? That's the beauty of having John on our socials, right? We'll have an answer to that. Royal City in so my guess is Toronto. Actually, I don't know if our friend Martin at WTRL is going to know the answer to that or not. Martin is actually English, I heard.
Should we open up the mic just so the man out of Calgary can tell us here?
Okay, good. So I want to hear, Nathan. Good. We can have some fun. Do you think he's going to know?
Let's go. We'll roll the dice on this.
Okay.
I'm gonna say I actually think he's gonna know. I'm gonna.
Okay, me too now.
All
me
right,
too.
All right. Martin, what's the Royal City? Give it to us. Oh, Martin's muted. Oh,
might not be there.
Unmute him.
I'm starting to think Montreal for some reason.
It's me that's muted. It's something that's held over in Guelph. That's about as much as I know. That's as much as I know.
Oh man, we just lost every nickel. We lost every nickel. Down the drain. Thanks a lot, Martin. You're not coming to Vegas with us. Go home.
Sorry, guys.
I feel like that was our Wizard of Oz moment. We looked behind the curtain expecting to see the wizard, and then he didn't know.
It wasn't there.
He didn't know.
No place like home.
Well, we'll find out. I don't want
to. All right. That was Martin Carew, the man from WTRL. Always great to have him on the broadcast. He's in the background, hammering away, working away, night and day. And it's great to have him with the support, as always, bringing all the data to the broadcast, as well as organizing all these events for all of you, if you didn't know. So big shout out to WTRL. We also have some new talent being brought on to the broadcast production team in the background. So if you're interacting with the socials today, it is John Roden from Last Watt Live that is going to be there, hammering away with us here over in ZCL. So shout out to John Roden and putting in the work there in the background. So appreciation there as well, too. We'll see, maybe John's got some couple of opinions about what's happened out here today as well. We'll see if that comes on into the broadcast. But it does look like Coates is all over the place here. Interesting. Maybe it's from some dropouts, and that's why we keep on seeing, or maybe a faulty situation on the day with the power meter, because it keeps on jumping all over the place, which can be a struggle that Royal City seems to be having in.
I feel terrible.
Yeah.
So did Martin answer Guelph? Is that what he said? Because that's correct.
He did.
Well,
did he say
that
Guelph?
is the correct answer.
Oh, he did.
I believe he did.
He's doing a dance. He's literally doing a dance right now in the back.
So Guelph is a city
he's coming
in
to Vegas.
southwestern.
Martin's coming to Vegas.
Yeah.
Martin's coming to Vegas.
He's back in. It's roughly 28 kilometers from Ontario, or it's in on southwestern Ontario. Ontario is a province, not a city. But it's a city in Ontario, and Martin is correct. So there we go, answering. So we have a chance to joke right now, Nathan, because the teams are all just getting out onto course. Let's talk about the course today. Again, is that critical juncture hits you early, doesn't it, when you talk about the reverse KOM? That's where we've seen teams unravel. This squad, Betty Squad B, they look like they've got their head in the game here. I think they found a nice rhythm as they roll out 7K into a 29-kilometer day. It's also a little bit deceptive. I saw Cryogen talking about that, Nathan, that this course, that once you get over the reverse KOM, it's not entirely flat along the way. The profile a little bit makes it a little more, look a little easier than it is, I'd say.
Yeah, and we are seeing that climb you were just talking about here, Dave. If people want to give an idea, we don't have a course profile currently to show on a map, but we do have this climb. You can kind of see in the distance there as it ascends all the way around this peak that you are seeing. This is the original Watopia Hilly course reverse. Early Watopia, you were only able to go one direction, forward Watopia. Then they did add the ability to turn around before there were any other expansions. So then it was a big deal that you could do the reverse. This was always one of the places I would go. Once they did open this up, it was a new climb that you could do that was a 4-minute-ish, for me, climb or repeats on. And I really, really enjoyed having that addition to the game. Whereas the other side of this climb is more of that, in that 2-minute range. Coates here. I think it's time for just to pull the plug.
Something happened.
Yeah. Something happened. Yes, something definitely happened.
Let's just leave it at that. Out here on the Mag 8.
We need to hit. That should have been
your
a replay.
line
That
earlier.
That needs to be a clip. Like there's a
Something
rocket
happened.
that just goes flying by, and Dave something happened.
I'm being much calmer, Nathan, than when I first started doing commentary, right? You learn that there'll be some things that just you don't quite understand. So we're going to, right now, though, we have a chance to, Nathan, talking about this team doing a really good job, Betty Squad here, staying together. We've talked about what a challenge that is, especially through this part of the course. So when you look at it now, you find a rhythm as a team. Actually, you don't always. That's the problem. Some teams don't find that rhythm, right, Nathan? Have you found that to be a trouble with your team? You got to learn the other riders, don't you? Learn their strengths and their weaknesses. And I think it's like anything in life, right? If you manage people, you see that some people are motivated by being yelled at. Some people are motivated by being patted on the back. And you really need to understand how people work.
I've found myself biting my tongue or kicking myself for how frustrated I get in the middle of the TTT sometimes.
Sure.
In the middle of all, I'm going, no, don't do that right now. And I'm live. Yeah. Like I'm on my live stream, and this is being recorded. And I'm thinking my teammates are going to hate me watching this back with the way I'm talking to them in the, cause when I played hockey as well. And I'm the guy on the bench who's yelling at my teammates, like, what are you doing? So I get back on D,
get back on D,
right? Exactly.
Yeah.
So, I've been told that, will you just shut up and let the coach, kind of a thing. So,
well, I'm never going to hold your passion against you, Nathan. And I think that, even in a broadcast team, you kind of have that energy, right? You have to understand that at times you're doing things wrong and people are going to yell at you. I've learned that. It certainly happened to me. So, and I try to not take things personally. And I think that's really important in being part of a teen time trial team as well. They're not mad at you because you're a bad person. They're mad at you because it's not working the way you want. That was a nice pass that we witnessed there, by the way, Nathan. We're in with Jamnicki right now, one of the Royal City women's riders. And that was pretty clean, especially on an uphill like that. Give all the riders credit on both teams there. There's an element of responsibility on both sides because there's going to be riders, Nathan, on that team getting past that if they want to step on the pedals a little bit harder, they can go ahead and cross-pollinate the two groups. And that is absolutely, it's not a gray area per se. It's black and white. Don't do that. Because that's not the way that you race a team time trial. You're working with your team, and when you have two teams that have commingled, it becomes, as they say, a dog's breakfast out there for a while. So Royal City Women's making that nice pass as they're coming up on 10K. They're about a third of the way into this one. And Nathan, now I'm not going to say it's smooth sailing, but they can go ahead and put their nose down on the grindstone now. Nice to see 6 riders still together. Not many teams accomplish that, making it into the nearly 10K point of this race with the entire squadra still rolling together. These Canadian, there we go again. I'm not sure what that is.
Something happened, Dave.
Something happening.
Something happened. Yeah, that's what we're going to leave it at that. But, so, I do want to highlight in chat here something that's really great, and it is something we haven't talked about in a while here, but good to see, and we don't give a lot of shout outs recently to the Twitch viewers. So to the Twitch viewers, Pookie is out here, longtime viewer. He's showing everybody how to make a clip, and this is one of the advantages to hanging out on Twitch, is that it's a lot easier to make clips. You can make clips on Facebook. I do not believe there's a clip service currently that's functional on YouTube, but if there is a section of the broadcast that you really liked, it's a section maybe that's of your team, maybe it's a great moment, obviously Pookie was using that in order to grab the something happened moment. It's probably going to become a meme, which is really great. But go ahead, head on over to Twitch if you want. If you are a Twitch user, you can become a Twitch user. We haven't had a huge focus recently on our YouTube as it is really growing. But that is one of the great things. And it's something you can share it on socials to show people, hey, this is what that Zwift thing's all about. Go check it out. Here's a great broadcast platform with ZCL that puts out the esports forum. So thanks a lot, Pookie. We appreciate that. And good to see you over there at the Twitch chat as always. So we are starting to get the splits in here, though, Dave. And we've got a lot of them for the top, the first 10 seeds that come through with a 939 from Cure Sports.
Yeah, I really appreciated Martin from WTRL taking the time to really bring me up to speed on how some of this works. And Nathan, when you look at the scope of this event, and with the 20 different teams, you'll have 20 minutes between starts, right? So you're going to have teams that are basically finishing as some of the teams are just getting to that first checkpoint. So that will explain why you're not going to see a split from Ceres to Pros Closet. That's just one example of the top teams that we have here until much, much later into the race. So don't worry, it's all good out there. But what we do know is this: the fastest time right now at 6K is a 9:39 from Coor Sports. You're going to see Misunderstood. They're doing an amazing job with the team names, Zson. Seriously. I got it. I don't know how you have so much creativity. It's got to be a team of people working together, Nathan. That can't be one human being doing that. So it's 3 seconds back for Misunderstood. Cryogen Marie Blanc is at 10:02 right now, and you can see they're deadlocked with ATP Racing Stingers. It's going to be Royal City Women's A at 10:09. So there you go. That's a look there at 6K. We'll start refreshing. And again, I guess the best way to put it, Nathan, tell me if this makes sense, right? We will have some teams at 12K giving us a time check before we've seen some of the other teams, the top teams, because this is reverse seeded. So the teams that have done the best in the series so far start last, and you won't even see a time from them, while some teams are already through 12K. That makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, and because the boards update based on the times that come through, we'll see all the times for the teams that come through first. We are having conversations about having, perhaps in the future, specifically focusing in on the 6K or what the first marker, then letting the first marker go, the second marker. So we are looking to develop and evolve all this for sure. But for right now, you will see the fastest times updated from the 12K, the 18K. And then once those later teams come through, we'll start seeing them update on the 18K because it will be the last ones updated on the last K marker that we are basing the boards on. So we'll try and adjust as we can to make sense of everything as well, but that's how it's currently functioning. I do want to give a shout out, which is interesting because the men did just start, and this is kind of cool to see. Both seated right around the same place, actually, is the Royal City team on the men's side of things as well. They went out as the first team, lowest seed on the day in the A category, though. So cool to see. Definitely a Canadian thing going on here. All the Canadian flags. So awesome as they're both out on course at the same time, looking to set these first 6K for M. Hay here, also from the Royal City here on the men's side of things. So we will be covering the men's side of things here. They're just getting out on course. They're not even to the reverse KOM yet. So we're going to stick with the women for a little while here. But just as a heads up, we will be in with the men shortly as they continue on. Let's go and move our way backward, though, as it is going to be Fearless here with Levang as well as Alvarado, Lithgow, and then it's going to be Elise Mathieu, as she has been doing really well, super motivated recently, and gave a big appreciation to the shout-out last couple of weeks. So good to see Elise here hammered away, leading things out, it looks like, currently, as they head on over to Fuego Flats.
Yeah, this is a team, Nathan. I love seeing a Cuban flag up here, as well as that's going to be Wanda Alvarado of the Furiosas. Nicole Tettenzer, that's a rider that we're familiar. Actually, this team has some depth to it, Nathan. I'm going to expect a special ride. They're going to try to weld this back together right now, but we'll be checking in with them out there today. Joey Lithgow, Elise Mateu, you mentioned earlier, Corey Talentino, and Amy Levang out here on course right now. And this is what happens, Nathan. I was talking about this in one of the earlier races. This is a tricky sector to keep the team together out here. And I think they'll get this back to 5 pretty quickly.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. It does look like Nicole's going to have to back off just a little bit, which is really a struggle if they have to slow down, because I do think that these riders here are struggling. And I think what happened here, Amy just lost a wheel through a section that is so difficult to work with. And it's because of the bridge and the off-road gravel section. If you did not know, the off-road gravel section does slow the avatars down in a way that you almost have to... It's not like a climb where you have to match the wattage, but it does decrease the benefit as we look at Revo here. They're just past. I'm going to see if I can get in with Cryogen. Cryogen are on this bridge here. And this bridge does cause a little bit more of a struggle to hang on. The draft doesn't matter quite as much, and they do hit that gravel section right before here. We'll see if we can get an eye on it. You can see it just coming out of the camera there in the back. It is off of that left-hand turn. You do have a pretty good recovery right before this, but I rode this section in TTT the other day, and it was toward the end of the race because we were finishing going under the arch on the flats. Man, it was a struggle just to hold that extra half 5 watts per kilogram. I think that's what happened to Levang there. She just struggled to hang on as they made their way into the Fuego flats.
I would completely agree. So Nathan, Cryogen actually has 2 teams racing in this division here. This is going to be Marie Blanc that we're looking at with Trudy Marquardt, who Nathan is focusing in on. Boy, the team looks solid, don't they? We've also got the Canadian Valerie Ramirez on this squad. The other Cryogen team is Gallopin, and I'm sure we'll be picking them up later, but this is going to be Karen Richardson, Jacqueline Lee on Isabel Guipo on Marie Blanc, and one more rider. There it is, Allison Thompson. So that's the Cryogen is another one of these fantastic squads. I don't even want to guess how many riders are part of the umbrella program of Cryogen, but Nathan, it's probably more than a couple hundred, wouldn't you think?
Oh, yeah. With how many of those? I mean, we've taken up every bird in the world.
There's no bird species left.
No bird, yeah, so it's got to be with like 8 per team. It's got to be in the hundreds upon hundreds. I would think up into the 5+, but
they're moving into naming teams after the big climbs around the world and mountains and stuff. So yeah, that speaks to the vast expanse of the Cryogen empire that we're looking at. 29K of racing out here, Nathan. This is a fun team to watch, though, and they've obviously done their homework. Everybody on a Tron bike. It's really hard to find, and as I'm sure you've seen, Nathan, with your team, is finding 6 athletes who are on the same page. Who, when you get too large of a spread in ability, and that can happen where on some teams you'll have sprinters and you'll have climbers, specialist riders. Well, specialist riders don't come together to make a great team time trial team often. There's riders that are good at this, that are suited for this. It's a special athlete that enjoys the time trial. And team time trialing is a leap of faith beyond doing a time trial, because now you have to take on the responsibility. It's almost like being a parent in a way. It's not just your ride, it's the ride of the other people's that are just as important to you.
Yeah, 100%. The reality of having a team that is cohesive in their ability is so incredibly important in the TTT. It can be a tough point as well that I've seen the struggle amongst some of the teams, because you want to ride with your bros, you want to ride with your friends. There is that reality though too, and there's a struggle that ends up if it is a full watt per kilogram or more that rider cannot handle within. It can be very difficult.
Doesn't work.
No, it can be so difficult.
Well, Nathan, I would recommend then that for those bros that you have, that those are the guys that you want to go on recovery or coffee shop rides with, because they're the most fun to talk to. They're most interesting. They tell the best jokes. But the guys that are at your level, you might not even like all that much, but they're the only guys that can do what you do. Right? I mean, it's a very limited number of people that can make 6 watts per kilo, and not all of them are going to be your style of person, right? It's really unique.
You end up liking
sport.
them, though. You know what's weird?
You do.
That suffering together
it helps. Sure does.
A thing that creates camaraderie like nothing else. Camaraderie and that friendship that can develop in a common goal and working together in that without the communication is in the suffering together. It's in that going toward that goal together and putting that on the line. You can communicate plenty by just showing up, and that's one of the things that's amazing about the WTRL is all the friendships we see being made through this communication on the bike, that we're here for you and we're going to lay it on the line for you without even saying a whole lot. It says everything right there.
Nathan, though. It sure does. And I think one of the back channel stories that I heard from the 2020 team, speaking exactly to what you're talking about, it's just perfect. 3 months ago, and Antonina Reznikov and Kristen Kolchinski, who've been 2 big stars in the Premier League, they were racing against each other in gravel races that we were doing every Wednesday, and they were at each other's throats. They both joined 2020, and now it's exactly what you're talking about. They're pretty similarly matched riders. They're both super strong, and they have formed one of the most unlikely alliances that you can imagine. But now they really have each other's backs, and that is what a cycling team is about. I think you put it perfectly. You might not have liked them when you started, but you go out and do this a few times together, you really bury yourself for each other, and your opinion of the person will change. You'll start to see the humanity in them, and it makes me feel so good about this sport, Nathan, when you hear those kind of stories, right? And every team has them. There's no doubt that the team time trial brings out the best in people. We're in with Quick right now. This team has got the fastest split that we're recording right now, that 1902. So this is a really impressive ride by a squad using the mob formation. Nathan, let's talk about that quickly. They're making this work for them. There's basically two distinct ways to do this, or there's kind of a hybrid way as well. Look good.
Yeah,
what are your
call.
thoughts on the ride right now?
Yeah, so that's a great call there about the different ways that you can run the TTT. The more traditional one rider at the front, I think it's opened up to even more. Anna, I think, was pretty spot on, this morning, that she came up with 3 different tactics. I'm wondering if there's 4 or even more than that, but I think there's really established at this point this 3 different ways of doing things. The traditional one line that she had talked about this morning, and one rider at the front, the rider's done, pulls off completely.
The old school.
Next rider takes
as
over.
old school as it gets, right?
Exactly, yeah. And then you've got more of this like blob style that kind of always is continually just trying to put a rider toward the front with momentum. Or what did she call it? She called it ordered chaos or it was, I can't remember. She had a great term for it, but it was this chaos that's always taking place to try and just whoever can fill that hole at the front with momentum, that's who you put there at all times. And you just blob up all the time and just let that person take over whoever's got it at the time. And then there's like a hybrid that seems to kind of have this straight line, but at the same time, if there's riders coming through with momentum, you let them do that and you let the chaos take over at the moments that it makes sense. And then there's this rider and there's a kind of this thing developing out of that where you have like a rider who has a role that just always glues it back together. And so I think that part is still being figured out about how you hybrid it and how you put the roles together on it. But there's definitely a lot of interesting tactics coming out of all of this, Dave.
Nathan, that final one you mentioned that you're calling hybrid, I would almost call chaos. So let's call it old school, being that single file technique. They're almost right now. This would be hybrid that we're looking at right now because it's not really blob. It's getting closer to blob, but this is kind of a mix of the blob and the hybrid. It's certainly not chaos, which I think maybe, Nathan, you favor the chaos style, which would be riders coming over the top, constantly just trying to throw some more watts at it, and then one rider who plays that safety of if someone goes a little too hard and a little gap opens up, they fill these gaps. I think that's a pretty decent assessment of where we're at right now in an ever-evolving team time trial world that we live in. You'd think, Nathan, after 81 weeks of WTRL, we'd have it all figured out, but we're just getting started.
And I have to say that when it comes to any sport at the highest level, I remember, every sport or physical, activity I'd gotten into that has a competition in some way to or a form to it, at a certain point the form becomes art more than form, and it becomes and so I remember training, I'm going off a little bit of a punny trade, but training Gojuru karate with my uncle very early on, and he told me this is kata, this is form, but eventually when I say hajime and you begin and you start sparring, you need to bring your art into it. It's not going to be form when you get into that fight. Same with hockey. Wayne Gretzky, you listen to Jordan, you listen to any of them, they bring their style to it at the end at the highest level. And so at a certain point, I think that's why I favor the chaos. Knowing when to go off of instinct and seeing what the riders are doing in that moment for the highest speed and momentum, I think that's why I favor it, because I do think those who can go off of what's happening in the moment to get the highest speed are going to have the best result in the end, but they got to know the game. I think that those who are not used to the game perhaps will like the traditional, it's your turn, your turn, your turn, because it just creates order where you can't make art out of the chaos if you don't know what's happening. If that makes sense, Dave.
It does, Nathan. It does. This is not a binary event. I think it's really interesting. Like you would say, is Michael Jordan an artist or an athlete? Well, the answer is both. And same thing with Peter Sagan, right? So this, though, as you're taking a look, we're seeing some faster times coming in now. So this is the moment where we really start seeing some big changes on the leaderboard because the fastest teams that started last. So again, there's a 20-minute envelope here from when the first team starts to the last team. The final teams out of the pen are the fastest teams based on their previous performances. We're picking up Team WYN, and this is going to be Miller here. And let's see what we've got, Nathan. So, just first look, looks really, really strong as they're rolling here. Kind of look up at that the current speed that they're carrying. And through this sector, I'd like to see 40, right? I would want to push a little bit harder. I think if we see other teams coming through, this is a good old Fuego Flats. And when you're rolling through here, yeah, see, they're trying to inch it up, Nathan. And that's the challenge, is you're going to try to pick up the speed. You don't just slam the accelerator. You have to have a gradual acceleration here. And it's what they're trying to do. There's no doubt. So team working well right in front of our eyes here. 5 riders. So almost not everybody started with 6, but most of the teams starting with 6 out here today. And they're through the mid part of the course. So this one, we're going to start looking at the fastest splits. Misunderstood at this 18K. They're the quickest. And Nathan, are they the quickest at 12K? No, they're not. You can see we've got some there you go. Sarah's the Pros Closet coming in with a 17:31. Sorry, Nathan, didn't mean to step on you there, but that's a very quick time. 17. So yeah, that's Anna. No, so I'm not sure, Nathan, if Anna Russell is racing or not tonight. I think she's directing the team. She's a colleague of ours. We love Anna. She's just a great person and one of the brightest minds in the sport. She's from New Zealand. She's got Annabella Stoll-Nassaro, who's been really, really good during the ZRL. So she's Canadian. Her teammate Claire Cameron, who's exceptional. Esther Beauville, who's an outrageously talented rider. I love what Christina Grossman has been doing, the rider out of New York. And
looks like
Megan
Anna's out there.
Ratwell.
Anna's there.
She is. Yep. Fantastic.
She said, I think she's playing the glue tonight so she can still talk. I have a feeling that might be going on, but we'll see if she's gluing it together here. She might have been taking a couple of pulls. See, she's pulling through. I have a feeling she's not going to head to the front, though. Watch. I have a feeling she's trying to say, bring this together. Oh, it's going away, though. Somebody's got to pull this together. Stoll does not need to slow down. They need to glue it together, and that's exactly what Anna's doing. She's going to pull this back together as Stoll continues on at 5.2, and they do not lose any speed.
Well, this is a perfect example of what Nathan has been trying to explain to us for a couple of weeks now. Anna is welding. I mean, she's welding it, Nathan. That is perfect example there. So it was a combined effort. Nice job. That's how a winning team rides. That's operating on the highest level. So Anna Russell, again, is a triathlete out of New Zealand who is also a commentator on Zwift Community Live. She started off this day working with Kate Bates, who we'll have back on later. But Anna I can't think of a person I'd rather have riding shotgun with me in a team time trial team than Anna Russell. Her knowledge and physical ability are on par with the best in the world. So this is Sarah's the Pros Closet. We had a chance to meet Anna, Annabella, Claire, Esta, Christina, and Megan. This team is in fuego right now. Nathan, they've been knocking on the door for a big win. I have a feeling today just might be their day.
Yeah, this is a solid ride here from Stars to Pros Closet. They had
ATP
good
Venom
10 seconds over ATP Venom at the last checkpoint, I believe. We'll have to wait and see.
Actually, it's the other way. I think the other way, Nathan. Yeah,
okay.
I'm thinking, and I'm with you. I think a correction, or either way, I'm seeing 17:22 versus a 17:31. So ATP Racing Venom. Right now, I've got them as 9 seconds quicker, but that's a little stale. That's from that 12K check. We'll see what's happening at 18K.
ATP Venom, they may have gone out a little bit at this point. I am seeing 110, but Stoll here, it looks like.
You think an even bigger lead, huh?
Look at that. Yeah. ATP, they're having a good ride here. It's close, though.
They sure are.
Everything can change through this Fuego Flats. It's not a big enough gap. It can't go away, but at 46 kilometers per hour, 47 here, 44 currently from Saris. They're slowing a little bit here. They really got to ramp this up because Radford and the rest are holding a solid 5 on the front. They cannot be slowing down like that, but it keeps fluctuating within that 10 seconds. Anything can happen still.
Nathan, again, this is going to come down to a rider sacrificing themselves. Look at Santoyo here. She's a really strong rider, this ATP Venom team. I think, Nathan, I appreciate you focusing in on them because we're getting a chance now to look at this monster squad. So there's the Venom and the Stingers, remembering, for ATP. Another team that has multiple additions now, Anil Radford, so that's the Australian, and then a bunch of Americans. I mentioned Jennifer Santoyo, Jennifer Price. Also there is Lauren Colson. And Rachel Lieberman, that's a name we're super familiar with, along with Stella Chen. So this is a team that's stacked with talent, Nathan. That's Anil Radford right there, the one Australian on this squad. This is going to be the race of the day. We've had a few of these, but buckle up, Buttercups, because here it comes. This could come down to 1 second separating these two teams by the time this one is done and dusted, talking about ATP Venom and Saris the Pros Closet. Nathan, it seems like we're being treated to one of these epic battles every single time zone that we check in with. It's been the best league racing so far as we're just now into the fourth, our second team time trial. I'm going to throw it back to you, but thanks a lot. We're jumping in. All right, that's going to be Christina Grossman there of the Saris the Pros Closet team. What do you think, Nathan? This is going to be really, really close.
It is really close. Nonstop fluctuation between that 10 seconds and, tie game. We're going to have to wait for the splits to come on in. We do have a question coming in from chat. This is a great question, and it's something that's really on our minds and hearts here at ZCL. Just so you know, is there footage of any other divisions at all? So we do cover the Division 1, as Division 1 across the board is heading into that top tier across all of the categories. So we try and focus in on the place where the pinnacle of the sport is being developed. Obviously, we have Premier League on Mondays, and then the community focus. We do go through the divisions for Division 1 across all of the categories for results. There is plans in the works as we develop new production for studios and things across the board here with ZCL to have dual coverage. So a new stream then, because there's only so much room on one stream, so many cameras to create coverage with. As you see across a lot of esports, when you get into big brackets and there's qualifying brackets and there's lots of different events going on, they'll actually have streams for, let's say you got a top 8 or a top 16 bracket situation, and you have a lot of teams all playing each other on head-to-head throughout the entire day. They'll have stream A, B, C, and D, right? Well, we don't have 4 production studios right now. So once we do get to that point, though, we definitely have a goal of having more divisions be covered. So thank you so much for the question, and we will bring in what we can throughout the day. Today, we will bring results to you for this division across categories, and right now we'll be able to focus in on the A's for the men and the women for the East as well as the West in Americas. But I appreciate you very much, D.A. Jones.
Nathan, when you look at this team here, 2 of these riders, Annabella Stoll-Dancero and Claire Cameron, have really had some breakthrough rides already in the Zwift Racing League. This is a team, much like ATP Venom, right? When you go back next week and we jump back in with the points racing, these 2 teams, I don't see a decided advantage for either squad. It's going to go right down to the last race, and looking at the final top 10, I have a strong feeling. And these are the teams that we're talking about that are going to be hoping to advance up into the Premier League and start racing on Mondays. As now we're in with another very strong squad. Nathan, I would have to say this division, right? I mean, we're seeing full teams that are making it into 20K into this race. We haven't seen much of this today.
Yeah, I think, Finesse Wahoo at the 12K mark was suffering that 5 seconds. I think because they might have waited up a little bit, but it's paying off on the flats now to have the 6th rider. You can see it. Yeah. It's now bringing them 100%. Back. Look at this. If you are about to race the West, keep this in mind right here. That extra rider if you have to wait, you can't wait like wasting 10 seconds, or they're getting dropped on the climb.
No, but if we're talking 1 or 2 seconds to wait, you do wait. If we're talking
like where
5
you're just
or
backing
more,
off half
you
a
don't.
watt per kilogram or something for a moment,
Right.
That kind of a situation. Yes. And now look, that extra pull you can take matters so much. So look at
this, Nathan. 25:26, baby. That's a very quick time from ATP Racing Venom. So they're going to stretch their legs here. The race looks like it's starting to shape up for second right now, unless these teams can pull a rabbit out of the hat, because Finesse Wahoo has gone by Saris the Pros Closet at that 18K check, but it's only 1 second. Nathan makes a great point, though, is trying to keep as many engines as you can, because using them here is where you can find an extra second or two. Boy, it's really hard to eke that out, Nathan. Your team has to really dig deep. And with the way this point structure works, you can't afford to give up a place out here. This is where it really can't miss a step. Finesse Wahoo Chicks and Saris the Pros Closet, it looks like that's going to be the closest race we've got out on course right now. And they're getting down to it. The business end has arrived here, as they're within about 7K of the finish, at least looking at Sisu Du right now.
Interesting to see Sisu Du. They were seated 1 spot ahead of Wahoo, I believe, and Wadi Inc. Maybe Wadi Inc. Bike as well, unless that's a catch. But interesting to see here that, you really see the seating difference here, almost a full minute back here. So, it's kind of this, you can see at least in the TTT, who the champions of this kind of are. Those who are all within 30 seconds of each other here. And obviously the battle between Finesse and Saris the Pros Closet. My question is ATP coming on stronger through the end, or did they go out too hot? Will Finesse Wahoo, with those extra bodies, be able to bring back up to that 25 seconds? A big ask all the way through these last Ks. I'm not sure that that's possible, but where's ATP sitting on bodies that are still left in here? They've got 5
They're good
versus
shape.
Wahoo. They are in good shape. They lose one more, though. There could be a good time loss, so we'll have to see.
I'll be honest, Nathan. I'm not too worried. Losing one is acceptable damage along the way out here. And these 5 look to be working well together here. You're right, though. You get down to 4 because we're still at that, 29K of racing. So if you do the math, a little more than 8K remaining here. That's a little risky to start stripping the team down to 4 riders at that point. So, yeah, Santoyo, they're holding on as the final rider in line. And they're in that the old school single file technique right now with Coulson up on the front. This is the Venom version of ATP, fastest team that we've got out on course at every check. They've been putting up the fastest time, and it just gets better. So right now, that's the gold standard. I don't expect that to change as Anil Radford moving up to the front. Anil having a strong ride out here today for the team. Boy, Nathan, now Wahoo Chicks and Saris the Pros Closet. These are the 2 teams that are going to be very close. Looks like 22K. You're jumping in with the men here, it looks like. Thank you, Nathan.
Yeah, definitely want to make sure that we don't lose the entirety of the race here, as we have such hotly contested at the front end of the women's race that we're getting pretty excited here. But we've got, the first half of the men's race is completed. This is the first ones out on course. This is going to be the men's side of that Royal City Cycling Canadian team, as you can see. And it looks like with a 25-21 coming on through, most likely not going to hold the best time, but pretty competitive on the day with the 8:50. It looks like up against at that 6K they were, which is about 45 or so seconds, 35 seconds off of ATP Racing Oxygen. As far as the standings go, that'll help us out a little bit to give us an idea of where things were at coming in here. So not really seeing any of the top teams just yet coming on through into these standings here. No, because if we do look at this here real quickly, you can see that none of those names really up on that board yet. So I have a feeling a lot of these are going to get overtaken, most likely, but could have some standout rides though too. We don't want to count anybody out, but this is the current situation as we do see them leaving Fuego Flats. The first team to go out, lowest seeded team, as Wessinger here coming from, is that going to be HTFU? Rule 5, I'm just going to call them Rule 5, making their way around course.
Well, there's a nuclear rhino, Nathan, now as well in the wide world of rhinos that we have identified out here today. Well, all right. Taking a look now, the 29K, the course distance out here. So these guys are getting their first sniff of the barn, as they say. They're not all that far out. ATP Racing Oxygen, that 23:55, the fastest time we're looking at 18K. We'll start filling in that checkpoint here as the teams will be. Now, here's a what's pretty close to. It looks like either a pass about to be made. Well, actually, that's a little bit of a deceptive camera shot. They're not as close as you might think. You can see right there, one team just on the horizon. But if they're going to make the pass, it's going to be a minute or two before they get there. Or maybe they were just passed, to be honest. We'll figure that out. That's our job.
I have a feeling they were just passed, perhaps. Looking at the distances here, I believe that I'm not sure.
It's like looking at two flowers and
that's
trying
not
to figure out which one is
actually.
growing faster.
I'm way off on that one, but it does look like at 31 minutes in, and then ATP at what looks to be 29 minutes in. They've made up a lot of time, it looks like, to get to this section of course. So yeah, ATP did catch them, it looks like, and went flying right on by. So they're on a good, very good roll at this point, as Wolfpack is at a 25:42, and ATP Racing Auction 23:55. So that'll tell us everything, as Wolfpack at that 18K. Right. Are about 2 minutes back. So ATP Oxygen, solid rolling time here. Rulers, Polo, Velo A, 24 minutes. And then Supersonics there for WTRL, 22 seconds back from that. So that's your top three at the 18K mark in the men's race.
This is the America's East division that we're looking at. Nathan, I want to give accommodations. I think we've seen more of the combination teams that have a men's and a women's unit than any other division. I like seeing that. It just builds even more camaraderie out there. And ATP is a good example. They've got the fastest team in the men's and the women's race at this moment, or at least at the 18K checkpoint. Rouleurs, the Polo Velo A team, sitting just 5 seconds back, however, another 22 seconds right now. And again, this will update, but right now, the third fastest time that we've seen at that check is a 24:22 for the Supersonics, WTRL.
Look at the it's bottom of that 12K there, just starting to update. That's pretty interesting there.
Well, it is, right? Finesse Wahoo, so fast, right? 20 seconds quicker than ATP Racing Hydrogen, Nathan. Two teams, ODZ, the Sharknadoes, are deadlocked there in second, but good catch. Looks like Finesse Wahoo's on a great day today, doesn't it?
Yeah, and this is exactly why this
no
is
surprise.
Important. Look at this. So 59, 53, and 51. And Finesse Wahoo, they are on a rampage here. We'll see if they can hold on, because ATP Racing Hydrogen, they are motivated most likely to try and grab some points, but it's going to be a tough one because Finesse Wahoo are so organized. They're one of the most organized American teams actually out there. Raced against them plenty, and I think they're the ones to watch out for at the top end, obviously, with that 59 points. Starting to walk away. Isn't a clean sweep like a Hino situation or some of the other situations we see, but it's getting close to it.
They're only one. Yeah, if they can win today, there'll be 3 golds and 1 silver. That's not bad in my book. That's for sure. So, all right. Well, we're starting to fill in those checks at 18K, but I agree with Nathan. The real story is what's happening at the sharp end of this race, and that's going to be Finesse Wahoo. And it won't be all that long until we get that 18K check, but then it's a decent distance, about 11K from there to the finish line. So we can see some changes along the way. And Nathan made a great point about the teams that do have 6 motivated riders. So if you've got 6 riders, but 2 of them are barely hanging on for grim death, well, that doesn't do you any good. But when they're all able to contribute, 6 riders can really start to lift the speed. And we're going back in with Christina Grossman and the Saris Pros Closet team. So they're in a pitched battle here for, well, I was going to say for silver, but Nathan, it's never over till it's over here. ATP Racing Venom with that 25-26, and it is going to be Saris the Pros Closet. The last check, 1 second behind Finesse Wahoo Chick. So they're in the mix.
Yeah, interesting to see with that 25-27 here. Will it bring it back? They have lost time, it looks like, from what I can see in the real-time results on the right-hand side. Currently, if I judge off of that, they have lost time to ATP. So that's interesting to see. Then Finesse Wahoo Chicks, though, is really who they're battling things out with, because it looks like they are going to catch cryo, or maybe not catch them, but they have closed a lot down to the cryo team. So we're seeing, though, Finesse Wahoo now with still 6 riders. And keeping it all together here, that might be their tactic. Is like, look, we might not have pure power, but we're going to keep the tactic with all 6 riders and use the blob chaos here to just keep things fast. Will it pay off, though, to the end, slowing down at all for some of this? Look at this. They got to go right by this rider here into this 3% uphill gradient. See what they got left here to put out this. This is going to be a crucial point for a couple seconds if they got 6 watts per kilogram without dropping anybody off. And really at this point, bring 4 over the top though, right, Dave? This is what we were talking about at the beginning of the broadcast.
This is exactly what we were talking about. This 3% grade right here. This is where you're going to make a second or lose a second. A little bit of split happening now. That's not going to be a problem. Just soldier on, ladies. For the women that are on the front, just keep doing what you're doing at this point. There's no reason to try to reset here. Okay, Finesse Wahoo, they are really in the mix here. So, Nathan, I'm going to say that it's going to be either 19 or 18 points that these teams are going to collect, and that 1 point will make all – that 1 point right here, right now, might be the difference between advancing up into the Premier League or being left as the top of the crop back with in the community here. So this team right now is up against it. Boy, Nathan, they're doing a tremendous job. As you say, that mob style, they're just throwing volume watts at the front.
This is what's on the line, everybody. Yeah, ATP Racing Venom, SARS Pros Closet. It's on the line right here. Now, whether or not they take that, every 1 point matters so much because they will inch their way closer to second point up against Sours or Pros Closet if they can take them down. It's so close, though. It was 1 second and 1 point, Dave. 1 second and 1 point is the difference.
And it's really interesting. You can win by 5 minutes, but it's only going to get you 1 more point than the second place team. But so this is where this is the meat and potatoes of this bike race. They're going to soldier on with 4. That's absolutely no problem, Nathan. They're really only about less than half a K.
Just sprinted to the line.
All in now. All in. Just push the chips into the middle of the table. There's the finish arch. It's just going to appear around this bend.
Look at the heart rate. This is pure suffering. Perry at 195 beats per minute. Talk about putting it all on the line here. 179 from Baker right now. Bolt is 195 as well. I mean, 170 from Bullet. Oh, they're off the back, actually. These are the riders who are dropped, and they're still trying to recover. Yeah. 197 from Bolt. I love it. What an effort here from this team. Wahoo Finesse. Solid result for them, as you can see. I'm loving the teamwork there from them. We'll see what they can pull off, though, because Saris is still coming to the line.
I have to say, Nathan, whether they get second or not, there's a huge satisfaction in giving everything you have, not only yourself, but your entire team. You don't have to win the bike race. You're a winner, because that's exactly what we witnessed there with Finesse Wahoo. That team rode brilliantly today. We'll see if it was enough to beat Sarah's the Pros Closet. We're in now with Cryo Gallop in here. This is going to be Brady. Same drill, different team. They've only got about 300 meters to go.
They were able to hold off Cyrus the Pros Closet, so kudos to them. It's pretty much been set at almost the same time gap, so able to really do a great job into the final here. Now we're moving back to ATP, and then we do have, it looks like, the final few seconds here for Cyrus the Pros Closet. We'll get the finishing results in probably 30 seconds to a minute after they come across the finish line, just as a heads up to everybody. Colson says, come on, quit holding us up. Get out of the saddle here. Bring forward to the line, encouraging everybody on to get into that 8 watts per kilogram and take this down. I think they've done it, but never know until the finish line, though. Price is going to lead them across.
Well, my feeling would be that was a lot less than a minute, right? It should be a win for the Venom team right there.
Call. Yeah, good call, Dave.
So that looks like good job, Venom. Nice work out there. But you know what, Nathan? There's no surprises today, to be honest, out here. The teams that have been performed again. So I think that we're starting to figure out our pecking order here. We're back in with the men. All right. So Nathan was talking about at the beginning of the show, this sector that's coming up here in about 1.5 K, this 3% grade as you come out of the tunnel here. Nathan, it's going to be a difference maker here. Although when we jump back in with the men's times up here, it's going to be interesting to see how close it was for everybody at that last check.
Did we put the wrong ones up on board? No, we got.
I think I'm trying.
That's Finesse Wahoo at the
There
top.
we go.
23:07. Yeah, and then ATP Racing
There you go.
Hydrogen. So they had a solid gap. I think that's.
They do.
I mean, they're gonna have to have a complete nuclear implosion if they're not, if they're not going to win this one. I would think. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
So-
highly unlikely. But look at the battle that we should have for third and fourth right now. Sharknado and Alpe d'Huez, 1 second difference there. It was about 11 or 10 seconds up to Hydrogen, ATP Racing Hydrogen from the Sharknadoes from ODZ. We'll have answers for you pretty quickly here. Boy, this has gone by like a flash out here today. 29K of racing, and a lot of the teams are either finished or finishing now.
Yeah, and there is a 2-point difference between ATP Hydrogen and Sharknado currently in the league standings. So there's something seriously on the line there between that battle. That's only a 9-second difference. So now something to give a shout out to is that Crowdge and Alpe d'Huez are sitting at 44 points, all the way down in 6th place though. So if they're able to hold on and even maybe jump across to that third, that's only 1 second, or even better to second. That will really give them a solid boost into maybe, 4th place, maybe even 5th, maybe even. I don't think they can jump up to 3rd. We'll have to wait and see. That would be a pretty big upset, but that's a little much. But Meme Team and Wadi Inc. might suffer for it because of the solid ride here from Cryogen.
Yeah, good point. We're going to start seeing some teams starting to crack the code here and bring up the leaderboard. And it's going to be an interesting second half of the season. We're right at, as these teams are finishing, they're hitting the exact middle of the first ever ZRL season. And let's bring another squad home here.
It's going to be BMTR A2. No longer on the board. They're suffering, it looks like, today. They do not have their 4th rider. So tough day, it looks like, for BMTR. Now jumping in for WTRL Supersonics. They've had a good time at 24-22, still in the top 10 at that 18K. We'll see if they can hold on to a top 10 and get into the double digits for the points, because it is 20 all the way down to 1. So if you're in the top 10, you're going to be grabbing some solid points in the double digits. Now back in with Wolfpack, blowing apart, it looks like. No good there as we move backwards. Here's CCNS. Pro Global? Yeah, Pro Global, as it's going to be a couple of rounds. Let's see if we can get some names to it. Long names. Sometimes once in a while give us a little bit, but it's going to be the legend, of course. It's a legend on our screen when we put it back onto the screen here.
The legend.
Solid ride by legend
I'm
here.
jumping around.
Go ahead, Dave.
So you can see that. I was just going to say some of the teams had finished, like the Supersonics there. You can see when the checkered flag goes up. We'll start having some finishing times. But right now, these guys into, I'm going to say they've got about a little more than a K and a half to go for Pro Global.
We'll start getting the results. We might change it up to results board here in just a moment in the lower left-hand corner. Once we get that working, and you'll be able to see how things come across the line as they do update. We'll also get the women's in there as well as they have finished up. Now, if you are looking for the next broadcast on YouTube, it is, as well as Facebook, it is a separate broadcast. Obviously, we'll be live over on Twitch in the same place. We will be broadcasting the West in just about, I think we start an hour and 15 minutes from now. Long day out here today, but it's going to be Kate and Dave on that for the West, and that's a hotly contested zone as well. I do believe we have some restarts in there, as well as plenty of West Coast Canada and America. So and then I think we start getting some other parts of the world waking up as well. So very, very early morning for some of them, but it really is cool how we get everybody across the world joining in. As you do see even here with Pro Global, with S. Scott and the legend here out of USA, the opposite sides of the world, hammering away together in this TTT.
Yeah, we had Anna Russell racing out of New Zealand with her American and Canadian. Actually, that's a Canadian-based team more than anything now when you look at Sarah's the Pros Closet over on the women's side of things. We'll go back with the legend now and Pro Global. They're going to come in well under 40 minutes here, looking at the last 300 meters or so. Beautiful downtown Watopia. Do they call this downtown Watopia? I just realized I think
The
I made
piers.
that up.
Yeah, actually, yeah, it is. I mean, some people,
It kind of reminds me.
Dave, that makes you an old schooler. Now that you're doing that, that makes you that makes you beta. That
Wow.
makes, you know what I mean? That makes you like old school, amazing, like been around forever because the piers, the start area, the pens, but downtown Watopia, that means you've been hanging out for a while. You know the scenery.
Yeah, I remember we used to do like the Jens Voigt ride that was sort of infamous with, I think, 4,000 people showed up. It's kind of when we first realized, or a lot of people realized how big Zwift would potentially be. We'd always meet down here, right? I haven't been to that pier for a long time.
Who do we got here? Is this Dirt Alert? That is who it's going to be. Dirt Alert here coming to the line. Solid ride here. And then Finesse Wahoo. This is the team. They've dropped everybody out. Look at this. Joel Carroll, Gumbel. We're looking at Mulligan. I mean, this is
They're going to bring it home with 4.
Effort. 6.8 over the 7 watts per kilo, 187 beats per minute here. Obviously, they just said enough is enough. Who's got anything left for the final 5 minutes? VO2 plus. So that's what's happening as Gumbel leads them over the top. But they can't drop anybody at this point. Force all that you can let go.
Yeah, there's no wiggle room. And they should be just fine as they're down to just a tiny bit more than 1K to go. This is a team that knows they're doing. They know the ins and outs. Finesse Wahoo looks like they should be the gold standard out here today. I think, Nathan, I don't want to get out in front of my skis here, but I think you're looking at the winning ride right now.
I'd be really surprised if 30 seconds changes up out here. That would be 48 kilometers per hour on this section, of course, after you leave that 3%, that's flying.
Yeah, they're not having any trouble at all. As a matter of fact, they're probably the fastest team through this sector too. Actually, they might be adding time to their advantage. And there you go. In the spirit of Nathan there, some rider always can go faster, and this team seems to really embrace that.
We are starting to get some times coming on in here for the men's side of things as well. We'll go ahead and update this so that you do have the results as they stand across the line here. That's where things are at as they are starting to come in. 37.56 was the fastest. Is that right? That is cruising. HTP Racing Oxygen 553. Let's wait and see what ends up happening here. Maybe I'm like, we're gonna wait on that one. We're gonna wait on that. I mean, that is. I'm not gonna.
Good to me. That's it.
I mean, I'm not gonna take it away from him, Polo Velo, but that's a.
See, the reason I'm thinking that something might be up is that it seems like it would be kind of crazy to have so many teams quicker. But you know what? I've been enough times before that I've learned to hold my tongue, as they say. All right, CRM Cryogen Alpe d'Huez coming in here. 5 riders together. Not all that many teams ended up with 5 out here today. And
that's solid ride. This is that one we were talking about.
They're going to have a really good ride.
Yeah, 37.24. I mean,
I'm just going to say right now that, so one of the things that I've learned is you need to let the dust settle when you look at our time trials here. And there'll be some general API. The data will figure itself all out. We've got the best people in the world working on it. So we'll show you some results here. Look at a top 10 as soon as we feel like it's solid.
Agreed, 100%. We're going to wait up here. Let's go ahead and do a little bit of housekeeping on things, though, as well, about what we can talk about, what's coming up, what's happened this week so far. Obviously, Premier League. If you're unfamiliar with the Zwift Racing League, what's happening here? You're just tuning in for the first time. I know a lot of you are probably here for your results, looking at the time splits. A lot of people who are racing out here checking it out. But there is obviously some people who are like, this is new. What is Zwift Racing? This is multiplayer, massive online platform in which riders are actually on real bikes competing against each other. This is the launch of the first ever Zwift Racing League put together by WTRL. If you want to check out all of the results and how to get involved, the rules, WTRL.racing. And on Mondays, we've got the Premier League. That's over on Zwift Live. That's the top pro level that we would call it now at this point. Actually, it essentially is. It is pro racing on Zwift at this point. And then from there, you have the Community League, which we are doing across 4 time zones with the APAC as well as the European, the Americas East and West throughout the entirety of the day. So we're into our 3rd broadcast of the community today. This is the Americas East. Americas West coming up next in about an hour from now. That'll be starting with Dave and Kate Bates. And then on Thursdays, next up is what this all kind of came out of. On Thursdays, WTRL TTT, which you can still get involved in. So lots and lots of broadcasts going on. And that's the current situation here as we look to get the results going. Go ahead, Dave.
Did you hear that OJ Borge is putting a lot of pressure on me to join his team, Nathan?
Oh, come on.
I'm not sure if you've
I'm
heard
doing the
this,
TTT.
Yeah.
I'm out there on Thursday night. I'm going to be hammering away. I mean, we were qualified. I got an invite to Premier League, to the Platinum League, actually. And I had to bypass. I had to say no because I'm supposed to be doing the broadcast here talking about it. We were trying to think about how do we get Nathan riding and getting the broadcast going at the same time. But DDC Hayes, I'm going to be commentating.
You've done it before.
Well, yeah. We probably could make it happen. We probably could. But the DDC Hayes team, we're going to be commentating on the team that I earned a spot for. So the whole time I'm going to be like, come on, guys. Like, the whole time. Anyways, I'm going to take a look here real quick, see what Tat's having to say. Good to see you there, M520. That was Finesse Wahoo's 2nd team. That's what I thought. Thank you, Jake Campbell. There we go. That is very helpful. I was wondering what was going on there. I figured there was something going on with that Wahoo team, that it wasn't the same one that we were looking at earlier. So thank you so much for that update there. Finesse did an amazing job. Appreciate the shout out there as well. Carissa, you rock. And great job out there on your race today. Let's take a quick look though. Martin, what do we got going on with the results so far is what I'm wondering. And if they are ready to go. We always like to get those for sure before we make anything happen. Martin, you're invited to Vegas until the results aren't working. So I'm just
I'm gonna go to Guelph instead. Why leave Canada and go down to Vegas?
Martin has probably been banned from Vegas, card counting or something. He's too much of a brainiac, Nathan. When he shows up at McCarran Airport, they're like, "Turn around, Canadian. You're going home."
No, so results are all good for the women. The league tables are all updated. We're just waiting for a handful more men's teams, and then we're all good to go on them too.
Gotcha, right on. Well, we'll roll through the women's, and if we have to come back and make everybody wait, we'll do that. So let's go ahead and see what's going on here with the women's side of things. On the women's teams, it's going to be the A and the C category.
Who ended up second was the big question, Nathan. Second place, I'm wondering.
Dave, it's all you.
The suspense. Oh, and it was Finesse Wahoo Chicks taking the silver. No doubt about it, Nathan. ATP Racing Venom were en fuego out here. Sarah Staploskazet made a run at it, just a few seconds there behind. So 38 back to Finesse Wahoo Chicks. Sarah Staploskazet at 41 back. Then you go to a minute 38 for Sisu I Race Like a Girl. Revo Whips in 5th. So Sisu 4th, Revo 5th, Cryogen Gallopin in 6th, Wadi Inc. They're going to take 7th. The Dark Kittens, BRT, Dark Kittens 8th, Coor Sports 9th, and Misunderstood rounding out our top 10. Congratulations to ATP Racing Venom. Again, command performance out here. Loved seeing that battle between Finesse Wahoo Chicks and Sarah Staploskazet. And Nathan, in a couple weeks, we'll have them back out here. It's always so much fun watching this America's East Division have at it.
Yeah, and I want to, Finesse Wahoo Chicks, they had that 6 going to the line. They were behind.
Yeah.
Remember? It was like a 9-10 second difference, but the 6 on a flatter section ended up paying off. Something to think about, depending on where the climbs are on course. Whether or not you want to drop that rider, because the flat section seemed to benefit. Because it looked like Finesse Wahoo were not putting out, we're 4-3. It's right there on the board. They put out 4-3, and SARS put out 4-5.
And they beat them. So that says that they were a little bit more efficient. out there. And efficiency and cycling really go hand in hand. So, Nathan, I'll throw it to you for, unless you want me to take the C's here.
I think I can handle it. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Do it? Yeah.
I'll
prop you up. I got your back.
I think that the margaritas might get me, though, all the way there around that 5 o'clock, but we'll see. Waddy Inc. WC2, 3 watts per kilogram, deadlocked at the same power, but 25 seconds back. ATP Racing Hive, unable to put together the strategy, it seems like, today at the same power. Revo Doves there. And there was 6 riders and 6 riders, too, at that 1 and 2. So wasn't a bodies thing. It had everything to do, it seems to be, with the tactic. Then it's going to be Revo Doves there, 2.8, 125 back, big gap. Tsunami, Margaritas, Herd of Otters, BR the Flaming Kittens need to go find a hydrogen, find the fire department, help them out there to cool it down. But it's going to be No Drama Llamas trying to help them out there in 8th place, right behind Cryogen. Abisk. There we go. Isn't that like a pastry? CCU, I Race Like a Girl. It's Papa Lotto. 344. That's the situation there for the women's side of things. Let's see. Where are the men's results at? I think we got them. It looks like we do. I'm
hearing we do.
All
Nathan,
right.
if it is a pastry, I'll have one. I'll try one and let you know. As we still have, it's probably a good time to take on a few more calories.
I don't know. I'm scared with these names out here. I'm a little scared. So No Drama Llamas, I'm being told, is in the household of WTRL where it all happens. That's pretty awesome. Shout out to Aaron and the women's team there.
Oh, right on. Yes, that's part of our crew.
Tactics,
Dave.
36-44. Finesse Wahoo, almost a full minute over ATP Racing Sharknado there in that 3rd place there. Quite the battle, it looks like. Look at this closeness, though. Everything else, I mean, Finesse just walks away, really, but it's all within a minute from 2nd to 9th.
Yeah, absolutely, Nathan. I think it's fascinating, though. What I would like to do is reverse engineer these rides then. And seeing that they made 4.8 watts per kilo and were faster than teams making 5 and 4.9 on the podium, that means they were racing more efficiently. And it'd be interesting to go back and look at a couple points on the course and see what they were doing versus ATP Hydrogen. I bet you ATP Hydrogen would like to know too, Nathan. Right?
Yeah,
that information would be
point.
very, very useful to them as we all try to get better.
Like where in the Pro Peloton, people don't wear heart rate monitors and they don't want people to see their power files because it's starting to get to that point where it's so competitive. Like we don't just, like Anna Russell was almost like holding her tongue this morning. Like, I'm giving away too much tips. I mean, I have a team that's competing out here, and I just gave away all of our secrets. So it's starting to get to that competitive level out here for sure.
You know, that's a really, really interesting point, right? How much do you want to share about your success? And some athletes are incredibly generous with that information. And I know some athletes, Nathan, that wouldn't tell you a thing. They've worked hard to get that intrinsic knowledge. So it speaks to the people too. Let's take a look at the Division 1B men here. FW 3.9 coming in with a 40-21. That's good enough for the win. That's your gold standard. And again, they do it more efficiently than the 2nd place team. Only 13 seconds back is BMTR B2. Gotham Grinders in 3rd, the Dirty Ducks in 4th, Dutch Diesel, that's the DDC, Oosttrain, West Train in 5th, Rouleurs Polo Velo in 6th, Dirty Diesels, that's Dad's Indoors Riding Trainers, the Diesels. In 7th, Lion DZ Hearts in 8th, 30 Watts in 9th, and ATP Racing Neon. Rounding out our top 10 here for the B men out of America's East Division, a really competitive division. I'll throw it back to you for the C's, Nathan.
ATP Racing Nitrogen, Dirty Grinders, and the Dirty Time 2nd. 2 grinders. Wow, they're right up against each other. They're from dirt, it looks like here. Honorable mentions, I think, is the battle there for 8th and 9th with Dirty Rise and Grind, Cryogen, SA, Calobra. And then really the battle, though, is in that top 4, it looks like, with 3rd and 4th battling it out there. But the walkaway is ATP, again, as you can see. Is there a D category? There is. It's going to be a 47.54 for Dirty Drafters, Team Type 1 Beta South. And then ATP Racing again is in there. There was a battle between them and BRT Dakota. So that's the situation in the Ds. Let's do a quick top 3 in the standings, as they should be updated here. We'll take a quick look at the women's and the men's standings. This is going to be the Americas East. Dave, top 3.
Yeah, wow. Let's give some props to our friends at WTRL as well on their A game. Thank you. As ATP Racing Venom now is 1 point away from a perfect score. What's amazing here is to see, so this is the women, I should add, and this battle for the second transfer spot is going to be really, really interesting. Sarah's the Pros Closet was 75. Finesse Wahoo Chicks was 73. So Nathan, they tightened that up. They did themselves a favor today. If you talk about Finesse, Sisu, I Race Like a Girl Do, it's 65 points. They're in 4th. Cryogen Gallop in 5th. Revo Whips in 6th. BRT Dark getting 7. Wadi Inc., they're 8th. 8 Racing Stingers, they're going to hold on to 9th. And then Ms. Understood sitting in 10th right now. But Nathan, I'm going to be really, really focusing on this battle here going on in the East Division for the women. Some of the best racing we've got on planet Earth happening with this group of ladies right now.
And then taking a quick look here at the C's, Tsunami, ATP Hive, and Wadi Inc. having a battle only spread by 4 points there. Margaritas and Revo Doves battling it there for that 4th spot. Maybe going to be able to get a jump and thing, put something together in the second half of the season, but really it's those top 3 that are looking at each other, I think, as we look at the rest of the top 10. Revo Doves, BRT Flaming Kittens, Herd of Otters, Cryogen Beast, and then No Jamalaz and CCNS Merry Pranksters. A little bit early for that.
I want to give a shout out.
Come on now.
Give shout out to Erin today. She had a great ride, Nathan. Good work, Erin. I'm a big fan of the no drama llamas.
Yeah, it's the Cryogen versus the llamas. So that's a little interesting.
Right. All right, well, this is going to be our men's Division 1A, and Finesse Wahoo, same story, different gender, but 79 points, so nearly perfect. Finesse Wahoo, ATP Racing Hydrogen, sitting at 72, so that's going to be the battle here. Sharknado and Hydrogen, Nathan, as they'll look for that transfer spot up into the bigs. ATP Racing Hydrogen 2nd, ODZ Sharknado 3rd, Cryogen Alp d'Huez in 4th, Wadi Inc. 5th, the Meme Team, or as my friend says, Memes, the Meme Team in 6th, Endurance Works in 7th. That's going to be FWT Party in 8th, Rouleurs, Polo Bello A 9th, and then Dirt Alert rounding out our top 10. And it was quite a battle out there. We'll continue to watch that one. I'll throw it back to you, Nathan, for the B.
FW's walking away for it looks like, at I like the name 3.9. That's almost aim assist level. Trolling a little bit there, liking it there. FW though, 79 points, and they live up to it. It looks like Dirty Diesel's at 70 there. Battle for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th between Dutch Diesel and BMTR B2 because they're tied at 68, only 2 points up to that 2nd. So watch out for that the rest of the season there. Dirty Ducks Rulers, Gotham Grinders, Lions Art, and Dirty Watts and WTRL Bombers rounding out the top 10. C category. Also a tight one at the top, Dave.
It sure is, Nathan. ATP Racing Hydrogen was 78, but it's only 1 point back. This one isn't really going to be about who transfers. It's going to be about who wins the division. As Dirty Grinders just 1 point back in 2nd. The RR Nuclear Rhinos, 68 points in 3rd. Dirty Time 2 Grind. So they're very close there with Endurance Nation for 4th and 5th. And then it's Z Sunderwear in 6th. Endurance Nation C2C1 in 7th. Herd Mentality in 8th. That's a funny name, Herd Mentality. Cryogen SA Calobra in 9th. And then Team Type 1, the Carbonauts. All right, that's your top 10 for our East Division C's. And I'll give you the honors, Nathan. The D's are so much fun out there.
The last of the standings we'll look at for this for this zone in Division 1D, ATP Racing Butane trying to light things up, it looks like, and they did just that. They had the spark. TT1 Beta Cells unable to keep up with the lighters, it looks like, and then it's going to be Herd of Plowing, Hertron, I don't know if we're going fishing, but Herd of Fighting Frasians, they're seeing here as well. BRT Dakota, DRD Drafters, ATP Racing Helium, Cryogen, Monoloa, Frankie Joints Bike Club, and STL Newbies. Watch out for the herd there. 66 and 65, but Dakota's right on their heels there in 5th. as well as the Dirty Drafters. That's going to be interesting between 6th to 3rd, but really walk away and with it at the top. There is Team Type 1 and the Racing Butte team as well with ATP. So that's it, everybody, for this zone for the Americas East. But the West is coming up. Want to watch that? Make sure to tune in. We're going to be live. I believe it's about 45 minutes from now or so, unless we're running late. We're running right up against it here, though. And Dave's going to go grab a Red Bull probably. So we'll see. And we'll have Kate in my spot here. Dave will be here on the support to handle things for the West. And appreciate everybody out there. Make sure to hit those follow buttons. And we will see you in just a little bit for the West. Make sure to go check out all the results over at WTRL.racing once they're ready to go. And we'll also make sure to go ahead and follow our socials as well. Always helpful. And we'll see you in just about 45 minutes. Great job to all the racers as always, everybody. Right on.